Everybody loves animals, but some people go further than that. They believe it's morally wrong to kill animals just so people can enjoy a hamburger or a fish sandwich. Some even demand civil rights for animals. So what would Jesus eat? Well, this is Faith Under Fire. This is where we put questions like that to the test. So joining us is Wesley Smith. He's an attorney who writes about bioethics. He's the author of The Consumer's Guide to the Brave New World. And facing off with him is Bruce Friedrich. He represents PETA, that's the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. He directs their vegan campaigns. A vegan is sort of a serious vegetarian. He's overseeing efforts like this one. This is a billboard of a pig with the caption, "He died for your sins." Now, Bruce, I know you're a professing Christian. You got to know that this billboard is terribly offensive to a lot of Christians. Are you hurting your own cause by using tactics like that?
What we're trying to do is raise people's awareness about the fact that every time we sit down to eat, we have a choice to make, and that's a choice between supporting cruelty to animals or supporting compassion for animals. I adopted a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet about 17 years ago, and I did it after I read a book called Christianity and the Rights of Animals by an Anglican priest and theology professor at Oxford University in England. And his argument is pretty simple. He says, for Christians, what we should be trying to do day in and day out is to lead lives that are as merciful as possible, as compassionate as possible, and that what's happening on factory farms, what's happening in slaughterhouses, these animals are never able to do anything that God designed them to do. Their bodies are mutilated without pain relief. They're crammed into conditions, cooped in their own feces and urine, and at slaughter, they have their throats slit open and they're hacked limb from limb while they're still conscious.
Okay,
this is something Christians should take a stand on, and we should refuse to support it.
Okay, another one of your billboards, Bruce, says Jesus was a vegetarian, and I've seen your stuff online where you argue very strongly that Jesus was a vegan. Do you still hold to that position? And what evidence do you have that Jesus refrained from eating meat?
Well, once again, Lee, we're trying to raise an issue and to get people talking about the issue and thinking about the issue. There is some scholarly research that argues from a historical standpoint that Jesus was a vegetarian, although what we're trying to do is to get Christians thinking about what we should be eating today. And the reality is animals on factory farms, animals in slaughterhouses, God designed them. They're also supposed to be giving glory to God, and God designed them in certain ways. All those things are denied them.
Okay, let's let Wesley have it say. Wesley, do you think it's a sin to eat meat?
Well, I'm not a theologian, and I don't get into those kinds of issues, but I can say that the idea of Jesus being a vegetarian is ludicrous. The Last Supper, when Jesus told the disciples to go out and prepare the Passover meal, what he was telling them to do was sacrifice a lamb, and then it would be roasted, and that was required of all observant Jews at that time. You know, Christianity, as far as I understand, is about people and about taking care of people. And eating meat, by the way, is a natural thing for people to do. We are omnivores. We are not herbivores. And of course, we have an obligation not to be cruel to animals, and we want to increase the humane way in which we treat animals. But what Bruce would have us do, and what People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals would have us do, is not eat animals at all, not wear leather, not use animals in medical research. We couldn't horseback ride. We'd have to shut down the fishing fleet. What PETA and animal liberationists, as opposed to people who support improved treatment of animals, want would be terribly detrimental to human welfare.
It's a disingenuous argument. The reality is chickens are so pumped full of drugs, chickens are so genetically manipulated that they grow 6 to 7 times as quickly as they would naturally. They literally keel over dead. Jesus, looking for a metaphor for his love for humanity, used a hen's love for her brood. These chickens, they're smarter than dogs and cats. They're never allowed to raise their kids. They're cooped in their own feces and urine. They literally cripple under their own weight from all of these drugs and this genetic breeding. It is a sin to treat God's creatures so abysmally. And that's the reason that I got into animal rights in the first place. I've been a vegetarian for 17 years.
Let's let Wesley respond to that. Go ahead, Wesley.
Well, nobody supports animal cruelty, and of course PETA will take
But if you
somebody
eat meat, you do.
Bruce, give him a chance to respond.
Nobody supports cruelty to animals. And what PETA tends to do is find an exaggerated, or the exception rather than the rule, and say that that's the rule.
Okay, we're gonna hold on.
Here's what the Holocaust on Your Plate campaign said, and the audience has to understand they mean this literally, not metaphorically. Quote, "The leather sofa and handbag are the modern equivalent of the lampshades made from the skins of people killed in death camps. People who eat steaks are not Heinrich Himmler, and anybody who equates the Holocaust with cattle ranching is not qualified to preach morality to anybody.
Yeah, Bruce, how do you answer that? That really seems over the top. Come on.
Our point is that it's the same mentality, this mentality of might makes right, that allowed the Holocaust, that allows us to do these sorts of things to animals. The reality is that other animals, differences between human beings and other animals, are differences of degree. They're not differences of kind. Other animals are made of flesh and blood and bone, just like human beings are. They have the same range of emotions. They have the same vital organs, and they feel pain.
Okay, guys, good exchange. We need to take a quick break. We're going to be right back. Don't go away.
Tell us what you think. Log on to faithunderfire.com to send us your opinion.
We're back talking about the civil rights of animals. Bruce, you don't say a vegetarian diet would be mandated because a person's a Christian, do you? You don't think it's something that naturally flows as a mandate from the teachings of Jesus, do you?
We're a fallen people. In Genesis 9, we're given permission to eat meat. But shouldn't we strive day in and day out to make choices that are as compassionate as possible, as merciful as possible? Every time we sit down to eat, we can choose to support cruelty or we can choose to support kindness.
Wesley, I mean, we have been given, Christians anyway, the right to eat meat in the Bible. Is that not enough?
In fact, as I you know who killed the first animal in the Bible? God, when he clothed Adam and Eve, who were embarrassed by their nakedness, in animal skins. So if you got a problem with using animals in a proper and humane fashion, take it up with the Lord. In terms of violence, this is something Bruce Friedrich said at an animal rights convention. Quote, "It would be great if all of these fast food outlets, these slaughterhouses, these laboratories, and the banks that fund them exploded tomorrow." Do you take that back, Bruce?
I would like to see the places closed tomorrow, but I basically live on the BK veggie.
You said exploded.
Bruce, let me ask you the question. Is it ever right to pursue violence in supporting the animal cause that you do?
Anything that would harm humans or harm animals is antithetical to what animal rights stands for. It's about human rights and it's about animal rights. They are bound, they are one and the same.
What we have to do in all of these issues is balance the human good received from the harm that can be caused. We have to be very careful, and perhaps the industrial farms need to be taken a look at. But having inexpensive food for people is a very important human benefit. And if these farms are as bad as PETA says they are, then they need to be dealt with. But that doesn't mean we should not be allowed to eat meat, and that is PETA's ultimate goal.
The human good received from eating meat is we have 2/3 of Americans overweight. I go to church every Sunday. It's no different there. People are so obese, and that's one of the 7 deadly sins. It's gluttony. Vegetarians are 1/10 as likely to be obese. We have more energy. We need less coffee. We need less sleep. It's good for us, and it's good for the animals. Bruce? And you can sit there, Wesley, and justify the cruelty to animals that you're supporting, but it mocks God to treat God's creatures so abysmally. That's what factory farms and slaughterhouses are doing.
What mocks God is to create a moral equivalency between humans and animals, just as the animal liberationist movement does. That is a true mockery of God.
You keep building up that straw man only in order to knock it down. But the reality is, on factory farms and slaughterhouses, God says animals should be raising their children. God says animals should be raising their children.
Okay, gentlemen, we're talking over each other. Hold it, we're talking over each other. Time out here, time out. We're running out of time.
Bruce, you should have the courage of your convictions. Your own boss, Ingrid Newkirk, said a rat is a dog is a boy because we're morally equal. And that does away with the concept of human... She did. That does away with the concept of human exceptionalism, which is extremely dangerous to humans, and it is extremely dangerous to animals.
Wesley, what she said is that where pain is concerned, and this is just physiologically true, take Biology 101, where pain is concerned, a rat is a pig, is a dog, is a boy. We all feel pain in the same way. We all feel pain to the same degree. You have an issue with that, take it up with God.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. It's been a provocative conversation, debate, I'd say. And, you know, I'd say personally, Bruce, that I just don't think you've established that Jesus was a vegan. I just don't think the evidence is there. I think anybody who takes the text of the Bible seriously and takes the New Testament seriously would not come to that conclusion. And I think the idea, wait a minute, I think the idea of equating animals to humans, as Wesley has raised, it goes on a slippery slope we really got to be careful of. But, like Wesley, I mean, you raise some troubling points about how animals are treated in food processing plants, and I think that's probably worth pondering for all of us. We have to go. Bruce, Wesley, thank you for being on Faith Under Fire. We're going to be right back.
when Faith Under Fire returns. Hugh Hefner, one-on-one.
If God existed, what would he have to do to convince you that he's real?
Well, you have a guy sitting there who wants it to be true.
People are winning. These lucky viewers won $1,000 in cash, plus had a chance to win.